So Theo, first and foremost, tell me what Divergent's about.
Divergent is basically an action-adventure story about a woman, a girl, Triss, who belongs to this future society. It's built up of 5 factions, and she has to choose which faction she's going to go into, basically, on graduation. And she chooses against the grain. She chooses to go into the military faction against the will of her parents. And it's really about her finding herself and realizing that within that she doesn't fit into the mold. She's something called divergent, which in this social construct is dangerous. And what happens through the course of the movie is you find out that there is essentially fissures in the social network, in the social and in the democracy, I should say, and she is part of that, and a war starts basically, and it becomes a kind of war movie.
And tell me a little bit about your character, Four.
I play Four, who is one of the Dauntless leaders. He's one of these, the instructors, should we say, in the Divergent world. And she meets him, and we don't really know what his motivations are, what he's, where he stands, really. And there's a clear attraction between him and Triss, but you're not sure if this guy is batting for good or bad, basically. And through the course of the movie, you realize that he's actually someone who's motivated by something beyond him, so a greater good, nobility, and the good of the faction system. But he realizes that it's being broken apart by Janine, who's played by Kate Winslet, and basically he is divergent as well. We find out, and together they take her on, basically.
And I know the movie is obviously just, it's a piece of entertainment. It's an epic adventure for popcorn, have fun. But people seem to be pulling these relevant themes out of it. Do you see those? Did you see them when you were filming, or see them now once you saw the movie?
I definitely saw them when I read the book, and I wanted to make sure that they were integral to the film, because I think that's what elevates it beyond just a kind of popcorn epic, studio movie. It's entertaining, but at the same time, it has these greater themes and ramifications. One is the theme of choice. Triss makes several big choices in her life, and it's the question of determinism. Whether these choices you make affect your destiny, or perhaps are you just part of, your pawn to fate, essentially, and whether these choices really affect you in later life. Another theme which I found really interesting, specifically with Four, is the concept of fear. It's not about being fearless. It's about having fears, but knowing how to respond to them and knowing how to rise above them and conquer them, essentially.
Tell me a little bit about working with Neil.
Neil is a very cool dude, and he's also a very smart and a man with consummate taste, and that really helps in a movie like this. It doesn't cater to the lowest common denominator. It's a very smart movie, and he's a smart filmmaker, and I was really impressed how he retained that. The film has a lot of integrity, as we said. It keeps bigger questions for the audience to ponder over even after the film's made, and on top of that, he's managed to create a film that keeps a lot of pace. So within these bigger questions, within this human story, this love story, this war movie, there's something bigger, there's something more tangible, something meatier there for the audience to grab hold of.
And can you tell me a little bit about working with Shailene? And you guys seem to have a chemistry that is beyond, it's great on screen, and how you started and where you kind of arrived at that.
Shay, yes, she's obviously a great actress. She's very intuitive, but what she's so good at in this movie is maintaining not only the strength that she has in abundance herself and as part of the character, but an empathy and a femininity that makes the audience really respond to her and really want to go on this journey with her. And she was great at, we would always be revisiting the script every time we did a scene to make sure that it was grounded in some realism, to make sure that the story we were telling was about 2 people, was about these people, and we didn't get lost in the kind of bigger, glossier green screen and those kind of the sugar on the cake. It was actually about the meat of the story.
And
I could use a few more metaphors there.
Obviously written by a young woman who was present and there occasionally. Did you find it helpful? Did you use her as a resource, or did you just think her book was the resource besides the director? How did you sort of deal with the Veronica element?
Yeah, It was a tough one because having the novelist there, your instinct is to use her as a resource and mine that as much as possible. But I had to fight against that because I thought from the beginning that I needed to use her source material but not get kind of embroiled in the specificity of how she viewed the character necessarily. I needed to be kind of strong and forthright with my instincts and how I wanted to play the character. And as soon as I read the character anyway, it doesn't always happen with characters. You know, sometimes it takes a little bit more work, but with Four, I had an immediate epiphany with him, not epiphany, empathy with him, and I could see where I wanted to take the character. So I asked her some questions about the world to set myself in it, but I didn't ask her, specific character questions because I thought that would be distracting.
And obviously, when you go to something that this has a built-in fan base, what's that been like? I mean, I know other actors who, in other movies who like literally could Google stuff about their character and read deep backstories and these things that, is that daunting in any, or is it, how do you deal with it?
Yeah, I mean, that is one thing. It's a human thing to be inquisitive. That's part of our makeup. But I really stopped myself Googling, getting on the internet and doing any research because, people are entitled to opinions, and some of them be positive and some of them be negative, but at the end of the day, you're the one who's been entrusted with the job, and I felt I knew the character more than anyone else, and I really knew how to play him. So kind of entering into the dangerous world of strangers' opinions was something that I definitely avoided.
And last question, did you, I know you didn't get to work with Kate a ton, but what was that like?
Kate is great. She's not only, obviously, one of my favorite movies is The Reader. She's a great actress, but she's also very down to earth, and she's also, as Shay says, and it's very true, she's someone who really still loves the work. She's not reining it in any way. She is really making sure every scene is as strong and as dynamic as possible. And one thing that I was really pleased about when I saw the movie was she is the bad guy, but she's also, because she's an interesting actress, there's empathy there, and you understand who this person is. So there's no archetype in the sense that, she's, cackling, to herself about, how powerful she'll be. It's someone who's motivated by what she believes is a greater ideal, and that is an interesting concept because I don't think inherently anyone is necessarily bad. They're just motivated by different things for better or worse, and she really brings that color to the character.
Out of time. Thank you.